Alright, 16th video. So today I'm going to be talking about one of the pioneers of women's MMA and the only women's MMA superstar, Ronda Rousey. If you are aware of MMA, then I don't think I need to explain who Ronda Rousey is, but she was the first women's champ, basically, and had a lot of defenses and was pretty good for the time because if you think of women's MMA skill set, if you think women's MMA skill set is limited now, imagine how it was back then. So Ronda Rousey became a champ with just pretty much a judo and an armbar, and she was pretty good at that. Obviously, she had other skills, but pretty much that was her bread and butter, right? That's what she was good at, you know. But obviously, Rousey in the long run doesn't exactly have a lot of fans today because of her attitude. And she had a recent podcast that just exposes Rousey's colors that people were familiar with, and that's her seemingly lack of accountability and unable to accept things about her career, and instead stigmatizes MMA fans in general solely off of her experience, which she does not, which she does have some points, but they are a bit seasoned with her own biases, which I'm going to be talking about in this video. First thing I like to talk about was, what she said. MMA fans are the most "what have you done for us lately" crowd of any sport.
MMA fans and media are the most "what have you done for us lately" crowd of any sport.
I would like to say to that, I see where she's coming from. This sport is heavily based on your recent performances. It happens all the time, depending on what side of the spectrum you are in terms of who you are rooting for. Like, just an example is once Magomed got murdered by Alex in the MMA community, a lot of people say, saw him as a fraud, and suddenly their first fight didn't matter. Although he did beat Alex and was able to have moments on the feet, despite people saying he did not stand a chance on the feet. And of course, the opposite side of the spectrum with Alex, and of course the same thing applies with Pereira. Once he lost the Magomed fight, all of a sudden he got exposed, even though it was a close fight and he did have all the other accomplishments such as beating Jan, Izzy, and Yuri, and was the champion. But all of a sudden he's a fraud. So if Rousey is just talking about people talking trash towards a fighter for losing, then it's like it happens with all sports, not just MMA. And although it sucks, it's important to remember these fans make these fighters careers. So without them watching, then they would have no career. So although I do understand what she is saying about fans being close-minded, it's just the way it is. And if she was just complaining about that, then that's fine. But then she herself has shown many times to not want to take accountability. So if her whole thing is fans' unwillingness to take accountability towards their perspective of the sport, then she isn't exactly setting a good example. So you would imagine it be a case of practice what you preach, and it's like, I'm not perfect, no one is. I'm not necessarily judging Rousey for this take, but it's like, if she just said this thing about the fans and said that's just my opinion, or this is what I think, and followed up with her own flaws and say I'm not perfect either, and not be like, yeah, that's the way they are and this is the way it is, I imagine a lot more people would not continue to follow this stigma that she hates when she herself is also promoting this behavior. Now, the second thing she said that I want to talk about is, the second that you are not on top, you're not shit, you were never shit.
MMA, it's like the second that you're not on top, you're not shit, and you never were shit. Chuck Liddell, when he's on top, oh my god, he's the best, he's the best. The second that he loses, oh, Chuck Liddell ain't shit, he never was shit.
Now, this is another take of Ronda that I understand where she's coming from and has some validity to the statement. But like, again, she's stigmatizing all MMA fans from just her experience, because although she does have a point, some examples I think are like Izzy, Connor, Sean, and I only say these because if you notice a pattern with these guys I mentioned, is that these guys just in general had some haters because they didn't like them. So of course when fans don't like them, they're going to talk badly about them, because it wouldn't have mattered if they won 10 more times after they lost the fans that didn't like these guys still would have talked shit. These guys that didn't like these guys still would have talked shit about these guys, not because they lost, but just because they don't like them. And of course that's only a small section of the MMA fan base, and that's just with champions. So many undefeated prospects hit with the term fraud check as soon as they lose. But on the other hand, there are those fans that can admit Like, despite these guys losing, they are still great. I mean, GSP is arguably considered one of the MMA GOATs, and he's lost before. And of course, you're going to have that small section of MMA fans that are going to say he's ass. But again, the general consensus is that he's one of the greats despite his losses. I mean, not even counting champs. Charles Oliveira has so many losses. People still love him, and arguably more than some champions on the roster right now. So again, it's not about the losses. It's just about the fans' perspectives on certain fighters, depending on many factors. But for Rousey to conclude all fans fit this criteria she listed is a bit silly. Just because there's people who don't like her, it's just a bit weird. Now, the final thing that she says that I'm going to talk about, which I think is her most valid point, in my opinion, is I think the only reason why MMA fans have their lips so firmly planted on Khabib's cock is because he was retired before he reached his limit. If he kept going and he lost, well, he was not shit. He was never shit. That's what she believes that the fans' consensus on Khabib would be after it's all said and done.
The only reason that why MMA fans have their lips so firmly planted at the base of Khabib's cock is because he retired before he reached his limit. And if he kept fighting until he reached his limit, everybody would be like, oh, Khabib ain't shit, he never was shit.
Now, this take from Rousey is the most accurate, I say, out of all of them, is because Khabib, despite him being personally my favorite fighter, solely just because he's the one who got me into the sport on a hardcore level, so I always love him for that. Pause. I will admit, most of Khabib's auras with fans is solely just from him being undefeated, and a lot of Khabib's fans are just because, again, are so fans because he's undefeated. But again, vice versa. He has a lot of people who don't like him because, because he's undefeated. So despite the quote-unquote Khabib glaze, he has a significant amount of haters as well. And that's because he's undefeated. Again, the same thing that you get love will get you hate. Not everyone is going to like you, and that's fine. The reason why I just find it ironic with Rousey saying all this, because I just want to emphasize the kinds of words Rousey was using here. Out of all her points she had with her words on the fans and her words on the idea of MMA fans' perspectives on fighters losing, she generally spoke with a consistent neutral tone of speech and used formal language. No bad words, no inappropriate words or anything, but to express her conclusions. But when it came to Khabib, she made sure to say lips grasped on Khabib's cock. Now that's a very unique set of words, I'll admit. I'll say, right? And why I find this interesting, because Rousey is criticizing Khabib for leaving before he faced a real challenge, and that's why he never lost, and that's why the fans quote unquote love him. Even though I can ask my cousin right now if he likes Khabib, and the answer is gonna be a firm no. So we already know her statement is not accurate. If you're an MMA fan, you don't love Khabib. Her criteria of MMA fan is incorrect. The point is, everything that she said regarding Khabib is true, right? He did never lose. He really never did get challenged, and he never lost, which if you never lose, then you never had to learn, which means you never had to, again, prove, right? And he left before he got a real challenge. But, isn't that exactly what Rousey did or tried to do? That's literally what she did, because she loved the media and was the most talked woman athlete, period, at her time. And when she was at the top, but as soon as she lost, she just avoided the media and refused to talk to anyone about her loss, and went on an immediate absence. And when she eventually was forced to talk about it, she did not take any accountability for any of her losses. So it's like, how are you so critical of Khabib's choices, which are solid criticisms, I'm not gonna lie, because they come from truth, right? But when it's applied to you, you can't fathom why people don't like you and instead don't learn anything and don't accept your loss. Isn't that the reason why you said Khabib has so many dick suckers? To me, it just sounds like Rousey just a bit salty because Khabib did what Rousey was trying to do, but actually succeeded. Seems like projecting to end this. It just seems like a bit of projecting to end this bit. I'm gonna end this quote with a Sigmund Freud quote, right? If you don't like a person, it's because they remind you of something you don't like about yourself. I'm not saying Rousey even doesn't like her. It's just, again, she seems very passionate when discussing Khabib's career and how she's not very fond of it compared to other things she's expressed. So yet again, I'm just a nobody, right? I'm just an idiot talking to a microphone. So again, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but anyways, that's the video, guys. See you in the next one. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments why maybe I'm spitting. If you don't disagree, if you don't agree, let me know on why I'm wrong in the comments. But if you understand what I'm trying to say, then leave it in the comments. If you're neutral, maybe you don't agree with it personally, but you can see where I'm coming from, again, let me know in the comments as well. So or if you liked the video or you didn't like the video, let me know why down in the comments below. So with that being said, thank you guys for, if you guys made it this far, thank you so much. And of course, see you in the next one, guys. Peace.